afternoon, and thank you again for joining us today. We're talking about prayer for judgment continued and how it can be a potentially good option for resolving a traffic citation that one receives in North Carolina. Before we get into talking about the benefits and some of the drawbacks or limitations on the prayer for judgment continued, I'd like to just talk about what a PJC is, because it's something that a lot of our clients are interested in learning about and interested in discussing as a potential option. So maybe we can give a little bit of a historical context for the PJC as an explanation for how it's used today. So if you think about the prayer for judgment continued, it's an incredibly old resolution that came from Old England. It was something that only a few states in only a few states in America continue to use today, and that's why it's a very unique resolution for drivers who get a ticket in North Carolina. The prayer for judgment continued comes from way back in around the 14 to 1500s in England. The king would go around to the counties and the castles of the country, and he would be there to resolve disputes. And so a farmer, for instance, would come in front of the king charging his neighbor, another farmer, with stealing a pig from his neighbor. And he would say something like, Your Honor, this gentleman has stolen this pig from me. And then the farmer who was charged with the theft would go before the king, and he would get down on his knees, kind of groveling, and say, Your Honor, I am so sorry, I did steal the pig. I just ask that you continue judgment upon me. And the king would shake his head thoughtfully and would either behead the farmer, or he would render a prayer for judgment continued. He would say that, yes, you are guilty in this matter, but I am not going to punish you because you have accepted responsibility and your record of criminal offenses is not such that I feel that in this instance you deserve to lose your head. So that's where the prayer for judgment continued came from, back in merry old England. And similarly, it is still used today, where the person who is charged with an offense must go before the court and basically say, listen, I am guilty of this offense, but please do not punish me. And then it is up to the court, to the judge, to determine whether to render prayer for judgment continued. A lot of clients think that they can just simply say, I'm going to use a PJC, and that is all that has to happen. Well, that's not actually correct. The judge has to think thoughtfully about the case, about your charge, and determine if they are willing to grant a prayer for judgment continued. And only if they agree to it is the prayer for judgment granted. But again, it does require that one pleads guilty to the underlying offense. And so that's something that sometimes people come back and say, this has come up as something where I pled guilty. And that is actually true. To be able to use a prayer for judgment continued, one first must plead guilty or responsible to the original offense before the court will even consider to allow a prayer for judgment continued. So when thinking about the PJC, it's a very old resolution. Because of its age, it's only really recognized in states like North Carolina that are themselves very old. New states like California, Alaska, Hawaii, they don't have any idea what a prayer for judgment continued is. And so, we can get into that in another video about limitations. But one must understand the historical context of a prayer for judgment before they can really think about using a prayer for judgment in any case, because of the fact that you have to plead guilty before the court can consider allowing a PJC.